Hello everyone, I'm in day 4 of hypnotherapy training, and I, like always, want to jump in and just give you guys a few takeaways from my learnings. And today I want to talk about every problem having a structure. So I'm sure we've all been to some sort of coach, therapist, healer, or maybe a friend who we bring a problem to. And we're like, this is a problem. Here's my problem. Let's say the problem is in a relationship. I just can't find the guy that is like my guy. I've been trying to manifest this amazing relationship, and I'm just like asking for this guy. I know what he looks like, I know what I want, and I can't get him. And a friend or a coach or whoever might say, oh, well, I think what you should do is you should just go do this. And they prescribe you something, right? There's an idea of what they think you should be doing. And oftentimes they'll present the solution to your problem in that way, which is, I think you should go blah, 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 blah. And even though that's well-intended and it is oftentimes not bad advice, it's giving advice from your model of the world. So that means as Sarah Small and you're talking to me about how you're trying to manifest this relationship or whatever your problem is that you're presenting. And if I were to say, well, I think that if you just meditate every day and think about the guy that you're manifesting, it's going to happen because it worked for me. That's what I did. That's not really what I did, but that's what I did. And so I think it's going to work for you. And you're projecting your model of the world and your experience onto that person, but you're also not only prescribing without understanding their model of the world, but you're not understanding the structure of their problem. Well, this guy that you haven't found, this relationship that you don't have in your life yet, why is that a problem? Or how is that a problem for you? How is that a problem that, in what ways does that affect your life not having that relationship? And are you clear on what the relationship is that you actually desire? And so when we don't understand the structure of the problem and we just go straight for, well, I think you should do this, then we're not really being the highest service to our clients or even our friends, even though we're well-intended. So that's what I said in the comment above, which is a coach that you might enjoy and you might like and everything, or a friend that you love, you might leave going, okay, yep, thanks for solving my problem. Thank you for that great suggestion. Thank you for helping me see that or for giving that great advice, which is not always a bad thing. But the coaching that I like to do and that I'll be teaching in Illuminated, my 8-month coach training program, is your clients are going to leave and they're going to say, thank you for changing the way I think. Thank you for helping me have that breakthrough. Thank you for helping me realize the conflict, internal conflict I've been experiencing my whole life and helping to heal that. Thank you for changing my life. Because we start to look at the structure of these problems. So let's say again, this problem is I'm trying to manifest a relationship and this perfect guy that for me, what does perfect mean, right? But for me, the perfect guy for me, and I've been dreaming about him and journaling about him and I'm manifesting, and Sarah, it's just not working. Okay, well, we would start to figure out the structure. And within that structure, if you think of it as like a graph that's kind of like a family tree, if you guys can visualize that, here's the problem. Okay, well, first of all, is that really the problem, or is there something underneath it that's a problem? Because that often happens. But then if you start to, like a family tree, start to kind of, this organizational chart flows down, you'll start to notice that as you pull apart the structure and the different parts and the steps and the reasons and the stories and all the details and the stuff that goes into that problem, here's what you find. There are inner conflicts, meaning part of me wants that guy. Part of me, and has been thinking about it constantly. The other part of me actually is afraid of committing to somebody, and that meaning that I'm going to lose my independence, for example. Oh, there's an inner conflict. That's interesting. So if I had just told you to go visualize a guy you want every day for 5 minutes before you start your day, even though that worked for me, that wouldn't have actually solved your problem if this inner conflict was underneath the actual problem. So there can be inner conflict, there can be an unresolved negative emotion. So in this case, let's say, I want this amazing man, I want this guy in my life. well, I have this unresolved negative emotion towards men as a whole. I had a horrible past relationship, or I resent my father and like everything that masculinity is, and I have all these feelings around men that is unresolved. And so even though I consciously say I want this, well, there's unresolved in the or subconscious that is also going to prevent you from receiving that in your life. You could also have a flawed strategy. So let's say, and we would break this down to figure out the structure of your problem, but without having one of you on the line with me as a demo person, a demo client, I can't show you exactly how it would look, but I can hypothetical kind of create a situation. So let's say this person has a strategy for picking men. And their strategy for picking men is that they have to look a certain way, and they have to make a certain amount of money, and drive a certain car. Okay, that's their strategy on how they pick men. And it could be a million other things. But that strategy, we could pull that apart and go, well, what do you actually want in a relationship and want in this man? Is there any part of your strategy in the way you've been trying to or have been picking men that is actually flawed strategy? There can also be limiting beliefs. This is something we talk about a lot and is becoming such a buzzword in self-development. But when we don't, again, go deep and understand the structure of the problem, some of those limiting beliefs never come to the surface, and we never actually solve them because we just think, here's the solution, go forth and take action on it without dissecting it more. And in this case, you could have a limiting belief that I'm not worthy of love. I'm not worthy of a healthy, conscious, loving, sacred relationship. And well, as much as you say you want that, if you have a limiting belief that you can't have it, then that's not going to happen either. What else? You could have a unfulfilled value. So within this relationship example, we all have our values, and those are the values that we live by. They're also what oftentimes create rules and structure around our life. So if my top value is abundance and money, well, then I'm going to prioritize that above all else. And so if that value is unfulfilled in relation to my problem and the structure of the problem I'm describing right now and trying to find a guide, well, I might feel like I have met really amazing guys, but I have this unfulfilled value of money, and none of the guys have had enough money to help me fill that value, which is not actually their responsibility, but there could be some connections to, well, he has to have a shit ton of money or something in order for me to fulfill that value through this relationship, versus looking at my value system and understanding the structure of that and taking ownership for it and fulfilling those on my own versus through a relationship or an external source. And then another thing or kind of group of things that could come up within the structure of your problem, like if you remember, I was saying like it's a little family tree kind of looking thing where you're pulling apart the pieces of the problem, not to like sit in it for too long, but to understand the structure of it. And when you're understanding the structure of it and how it all kind of flows outward, you might find that there's some distortions, deletions, or generalizations. And this example works well, actually. You could say a generalization would be that all men are blank. I'm never going to find a guy. So we're using absolutes here. Every time I go on a date, this happens. Well, is that actually true, or are you generalizing? And we have to look at language and neuro-linguistic programming in that case around to start to pinpoint where are there distortions, deletions, and generalizations in your language and in your programming that are affecting whether you are achieving this goal or finding a solution, a sustainable solution to this problem, versus, again, a coach being, I think you should go do this, go do that, try this, before actually pulling apart the structure of the problem and understanding your client's model of the world. And then how does this all relate to hypnotherapy? Well, then once we understand it, we can start to take these pieces, the unfulfilled value, the inner conflict, the flawed strategy, the limiting belief, the unresolved negative emotion, any deletions, distortions, generalizations. We can take those things and we can put them into the script of our hypnotic language, into the hypnosis experience, and we can go directly into bypassing the critical factor of the mind, straight into the sub or unconscious mind, and we can start to make real lasting change. There's other ways to do that too, like timeline therapy and some intuitive healing techniques that I've worked with in the past. But hypnosis is turning out to be a very, very powerful way to do this as well. And it's like, it's pain-free in many senses, where it's like, yeah, you got to show up. Yeah, we have to talk about the problem. Yeah, we have to go deep, but I'm not going to ask you to break down or do a bajillion push-ups or anything that's like too intensely like painful or uncomfortable. We're going right into the subconscious mind to create these lasting results and these lasting changes after we understand the problem does have a structure and what that structure looks like. So I hope this has shined a little light on the problems you may be experiencing in your life and understanding how we've built the problem and the structure of it, and then some of the things that could be affecting it and a reason why we're not seeing current change in our lives. So if that is exciting and interesting to you, I'd love to work with you guys, and I'd love to have you inside of Illuminated, my 8-month coach training program, so that you can understand how to use this with your clients as well. Either way, shoot me a message or a comment below on what you learned today, and I'll be back tomorrow with some more takeaways.